Being an experienced user of a gimbal, I've learned quite a few things that I wish I knew before I started. In this video, I'm going to explain the perfect rig for a gimbal and the perfect settings on your camera for a gimbal. Some of us like to learn from our mistakes and some of us like to learn from others. If you learn from your mistakes, you spend a lot of time till you get to the perfect situation. But if you learn from others, you might be able to just get it right the first time and save yourself a lot of money. First of all, the lens I recommend with a gimbal is anything wider than 12mm. Now, on a micro four thirds camera, 12mm is the same as 24mm on a full frame camera. So if you're using a micro four thirds camera, I recommend the kit lens, the 12 to 35mm with image stabilization. This is the lens you probably want to pick. The reason being is when you walk with a gimbal, there are up and down motions of your walking. But if you use a very wide angle, those up and down motions are actually minimized more and more. So if you've got a lens that's very zoomed in, then what you're going to see is more of those up and down motions. But if you've got a lens that's zoomed out, you're going to see less and less of those up and down motions. And those up and down motions are going to make or break your footage. If your footage has little bit of up and down motions, you can still pull it off as a gimbal shot. But if your shot has like a really big up and down motion, you're actually going to lose that gimbal kind of feeling. So therefore I recommend a lens which is 12mm, which is very wide for micro four thirds. And if you've got a full frame camera, that's the same as a 24mm. But whatever you do, don't get a lens that's too zoomed in. The best thing to do with a gimbal is get close when you want to get that shot. If you want to get the shot with a gimbal, get up close, that's fine. Tip number 2. If you get a lens that's not wide enough, then when you're with a gimbal, you're going to really have to stretch back to get that shot. And the problem with that is that sometimes you just can't go back because there might be people behind you. So therefore, having a wide lens allows you to stay in your same place when you want to get that shot. So you can just get closer to your subject and then you'll actually get that perfect shot. So again, those are 2 reasons why you need a wide lens. Now, enough about lenses, let's talk about camera settings. Now, first of all, there's no way you could be using a gimbal without autofocus, in my humble opinion. Because if you don't use autofocus, what's going to happen is you're going to end up with footage that's out of focus. Now, you can't have that. And secondly, if you use manual focus, you can't be pulling focus on a gimbal. You might ruin the motors, and also you can't really touch the gimbal, it's going to go crazy. So autofocus is the only option. Now if you have a GH4 or GH5, which kind of have a little bit of a bad name when it comes to autofocus, well, believe it or not, there's an incredible setting which you can find on YouTube about how to use autofocus on the GH4 and the GH5, which is basically to pick the middle point of any frame and use that as the focus point, and it actually works pretty well. And that way you'll be able to use even your GH4 or GH5 with autofocus with your gimbal. That's point number 3. Point number 4, the camera settings need to be done in a way where you're not going to get any ISO changing because you don't want to get any noise in your footage. And additionally, you're going to want the camera to automatically change when there's too much light, and when there's not enough light, you want the camera to basically do something automatically. Now, what are we going to change? We're not going to change the shutter speed. We don't want to reduce the motion blur. We want to keep the motion blur constant. We want to keep it cinematic. So we want it to be double our frame rate, which is going to be in our case 50 if our frame rate's 24 or 25. But what we can change is the aperture. The aperture can be changed whenever the camera wants to change it. You can give the camera free rein over the aperture. The reason for that is because the aperture actually doesn't make such a big difference when you're using a gimbal. Because mainly the reason why most people want to use a very low aperture like f1.2 or f1.8 or whatever it is because you want to get a shallow depth of field. But with a gimbal, the point isn't to try and get that shallow depth of field. The point is to get a stable shot, and everything else doesn't really matter that much. Because if you've got an image that's not exposed correctly, that shot's worthless, even though it's on a gimbal. So we need an image to be exposed correctly. So what we're doing is we're putting the camera on automatic aperture mode, where it changes the aperture. Another great thing about this is that if it's very light outside and there's a lot of light and the camera goes on f11 or f22, then everything is going to be in focus, which means you've solved your focus problem automatically, because the aperture is so high and the picture is so clear, everything's in focus. So your gimbal is finally doing its job very well. You don't even have to touch the camera. So that's why these are the ultimate settings, and I'll put them up on the screen. Number 1, ISO has to remain constant. Number 2, shutter speed, constant. Number 3, you have to use automatic aperture adjustment. The camera needs to adjust the aperture by itself. And number 4, the lens has to be a very wide angled lens. If you follow all these rules, I can guarantee you'll be getting shots and you won't be missing any shots, because you're always going to have your gimbal ready and at hand, ready to produce that perfect shot. If you enjoyed this video, give us a quick like and subscribe to our channel today. Thanks for watching Cinematography Channel. Another must with a gimbal is to have a quick release plate at the bottom. Now this is only possible with a Zhiyun crane and similar gimbals which have thought of this. The reason for this is because if you have a monopod, you can quickly slide it in. If it wants to slide in, you quickly slide it in, lock it in place, and then use it as a kind of crane shot and get those really low angle shots coming upwards just like that. So us cinematographers, our problem is trying to get that shot, and using these tips I'm sure that you'll be able to get that shot. So please give us a thumbs up if you like this video and subscribe to get some more videos, and we've got many more videos, so have a look at our channel, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.